My name is Charles Boson, creator of Kisses from Cuba, Advice for the American Tourist. I'm an American who has been sneaking into Cuba for over the last 10 years, traveling through Mexico to avoid the American embargo that we have against them. And over those 10 years, I've gained a wealth of inside information for traveling to Cuba. And much of that information has come from my Cuban friend and partner, Bianney. And now I know how to shop like a Cuban, and the deals are sweet. Pure paradise, baby, right there. So I have access to some of the best kept secrets from the streets of Cuba. Now today's presentation is about an adventure I had many years ago, one of my top experiences. I met a young lady who was about 8 years old, who I'll name Mountain Girl. Mountain Girl lived with her family in the mountains of Cuba, and I had stopped in to visit along with my bilingual friend Miguel to talk to her grandpa. I had sat quietly for a few minutes before I spoke, and when I did speak, I spoke English. Well, this frightened the living daylights out of Mountain Girl. She had never heard anybody speak English before, and when she found out that I was an Americano, she was even more upset. Understanding that Mountain Girl was upset, and being a professional photographer, I took her photograph with her only toy and doll, and I printed it out immediately on my portable printer. That smoothed the waters, and we have since become friends, and over the years, I would occasionally stop and visit with the family. Mountain Girl is now turning 15, and I'm back in Cuba by invitation for her quinceañera. The only issue this time is that she has moved from her grandparents' house to her mother's house, and her mother lives at the end of the road out in the mountains. I'm heading out on a real adventure today. I'm heading into the mountains of Cuba to see Mountain Girl, or Bianney. I'm going to go completely on my limited Spanish, so I'm going to try to find the Taxi Cubano parking lot, which is specifically for Cubans. So we'll see how that goes. Well, so far I've totally struck out. I got dropped off in an area that I don't even recognize. Eventually I flagged down a ride.
Es un Chevrolet 57.
Chevrolet?
Chevrolet. Del año 57.
1957. He gives me a ride to the Taxi Cubano taxi station where cars are waiting for non-tourist customers, and I ask all the drivers to give me a ride into the mountains, and they all say, no gracias. Many of them don't want to travel as far as I want to go into the mountains, so I understand their point. But there is a man that said, I'll go get my friend's car and bring it back to you and show you. Now he said he'd be back in 5 minutes. It's been a lot longer than 5 minutes. So I'm gonna do what most any Americano would do. There it is, baby. Bruja Classico from Santa Clara. Now I'm going to sit with the old men and wait for my car to show up. So, Bianney, mi nueva amiga, is got a 4-wheel drive. So let's see how it goes. We've got some popsicles, some cowboys. Along the way, we stop and see Mountain Girl's father, who is now divorced and remarried. They live on a little coffee plantation, and it seems like a quiet, beautiful life. A life of coffee beans, spurs, machetes, old wooden saddles, and cowboy hats. Our gracious hosts fix us a delicious lunch of avocado, black beans, and pork. We then head next door for fresh coconuts.
Yuca y mamey.
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 Esta.
¿Listo?
La cabeza de freno está bien.
No, que es abuelo. Vamos. Abuelo, ¿tienes la carnera enredada? No, si te pones enredada... Carnera.
Carnera.
Sí. Vamos. Ahí trae maíz. Maíz.
Maíz. Sí.
Cuidado, cuidado. Ahora sí tomamos. Mío, es tan grande.
Están bastante secos.
¿Verdad?
Mira, está bueno. ¿Está bueno, Gal?
Dame acá el pitillo para probar.
Mira, Gal, ese. Está bueno.
Está salada.
Estos son los buenos. Son estos.
The coconut milk was so sweet and delicious, and the moment so tranquil. I felt a world away from the United States, the hustle and bustle. And at that moment, I wanted to express to them how lucky they were. But I knew they would not understand. But I understood how lucky I was to be with people who had so little, but would share with me with whatever they had. I felt blessed, and I was grateful. We said our goodbyes, and then we were back on the road to Bianney's. Holy cow, did you see that? I need that photo, referring to the young couple and their motorcycle. I grabbed my Nikon camera and I'm out the door. I asked them if I could take their photo, and I'm confident they thought I was cuckoo. But the real story here is the motorcycle. It's what they call invenciones de Cuba, or an invention of Cuba, something that is hand-built and hobbled together from parts and pieces, entirely homemade. Now, after a few photos, my photo addiction is satisfied, and I say adios to bad boy Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie. As the road became more primitive, the culture did too. What we know as a family car here in the States is a family horse in Cuba. And it's not uncommon in Cuba to see a farm animal unattended, although some have ropes or sticks tied to them to keep them from wandering too far. I was anxious to see Mountain Girl again. She was 8 years old when we first met. We haven't seen each other in a few years. Soon we located Bianney's humble house, and there she was, on the porch, tall, slender, and beautiful. After a Cuban kiss for her and her mother, who was in the kitchen preparing the birthday meal, I was introduced to Bia's stepfather. He was anxious to show me the souvenir license plates he produced by hand. The tools he used were very old and crude, and he sells the souvenir plates for $1 each. La
Bodeguita.
Bodeguita del Medio. The only gifts at Bianney's 15th birthday were the ones that I brought: a computer tablet and clothing. She beamed as she tried on her new American clothes. And later that day, her birthday wish would come true. But for now, dinner had to be prepared, and Bia's stepfather headed to the neighbors with firewood. Here the men would prepare the main course, el cochino, or the pig. I tagged along to watch and was graciously welcomed and felt totally at ease, enough so that I fed my photo obsession. And this is where things got interesting. The homestead felt like it was from the 1800s America. For example, a horse shared space in the outdoor kitchen. The playpen that held a baby looked ancient, and the home was primitive with no running water or electricity. Back outside, the men continued to prepare for the pig's demise. And in fact, it was the final countdown.
It's the final countdown.
And that's when I saw her, La Chica Sin Zapatos, or the girl with no shoes. She was staring at me, and I was intrigued. There was an unembellished beauty about her. Her womanhood was genuine and primal, and there was little doubt that there was a mild attraction or curiosity between us. She even made sure that I got my share of homemade menta, or mint liqueur.
¿Qué es eso?
Menta.
¿Meta? Oh.
For her, it may have been that I was the first Americano that she had ever met. The attraction for me is that I see life in pictures, and I asked her to be the next victim of my obsession. And she said yes. And the timing could not have been better because the pig was about to be turned into dinner. And the men asked if I wanted the honor. And I answered,
No, gracias.
Sacrificio del amor es el olvido. No sacrifiques en tus alas mi querer. Si tú te llevas lo mejor que yo he vivido, la humildad de tus besos en mi ser.
and then she proposed an idea that caught me a little off guard. She said, in Spanish, I have a black dress. Should I put it on? And I answered, por favor, please.
De mi mente, y tú bien sabes que te vas, yo me muero, porque me dejas, ángel mío, si yo te quiero. El sacrificio del amor es el olvido. No sacrifiques en tus alas mi querer. Si tú te llevas lo mejor que yo he vivido, la humildad de tus besos en mi ser.
Dinner was ready. A Cuban kiss to barefoot girl, and I head back to Bianney's casa. Her birthday celebration was a low-key affair, unlike the elaborate quinceañeras I have photographed in the United States. But nothing could compare to the food and company I had here in Cuba. And Bia's only birthday request to me, a photo shoot, like the girls in America. Let's go, girl. I cherish my unlikely connection with Bia. She calls me her Padrino Americano, or American Godfather. That would make her my Cuban goddaughter. I like that. Bianney now writes to me weekly, and she ends every email with Te quiero, or I love you much. And Bia, I love you too. Niña, ¿estás lista?